Welcome to Private Banking Strategies Podcast with Vance Lowe and Seth Hicks, your secret weapon to protect your assets and never have to start over financially again. Vance and Seth help high net worth individuals, families, business owners, and investors structure an asset-protected, tax-free fortress for their families. Learn how to keep what you earn and use the velocity of money to create your own private banking system. Join us on this journey as we explore the secret strategies of the rich and political elite and help you take total control of your financial security. Now, on to the show.
Hello, welcome to the Private Banking Strategies Podcast with Vance Lowe and Seth Hicks. Vance, how are you?
I'm doing great. Hello, everyone out there. How are you doing, Seth?
Doing well, doing real well. We're going to jump into the second part of a series that we're doing on why people choose private banking strategies, why people implement the private banking strategies, what they are, and why it's so different than anything people have ever used with traditional financial planning, financial wealth management, traditional banking. And hopefully we will take people on a journey that changes their lives for years to come. So we talked about in the first part, Vance, asset protection and the tax-free growth, which are two of the 7 pillars of the private banking strategies. Now I'd like to jump into financial privacy. We've all experienced trying to go to your bank and having them ask questions about why you're withdrawing cash or why you're depositing cash, or just running into all sorts of red tape that totally invades the financial privacy of what we were used to enjoy decades ago. That's a thing of the past.
There is hope, though. That's why it's one of the pillars, is that we say you can still have financial privacy compared to what's out there. If any of you listeners have gone to the banks and tried to qualify for a loan this year, especially a mortgage, it is absolutely amazing and draining to listen to the amount of information that they want. Years of tax returns. The day was that nobody could get your tax return. Isn't that right, Seth?
Right. I mean, it's a constitutionally private and privileged information, and people pass it around like it's, a business card sometimes. And when you're going in for financing, they always want tax returns, yes.
And that is because today we're brainwashed enough that we just follow and do what we're told to do. And that's where I think they want us to get us to another level. We should fight back when the bank asks us for information. Why do you want that information? And I've been doing that for the last several years on everything they're asking me. I had a problem on a credit card the other time, and they blocked the payment. And when I said, look, this is a legitimate bill, they asked me, well, what is this for? What are you purchasing? I said, it's absolutely none of your business. I'm telling you to approve the deal. Well, we have to put that on our records. Well, put that I told you it's none of your business. Now, that's just me, guys. But I've played a lot with the banks, and some of the things I know I can get away with, and others I can't. Other times when I'm trying to go in for home equity line of credits, because I always preach, if you've got equity in your home, you need to be able to access it quickly for opportunity and emergency. Well, they want to go in and they want to qualify you exactly the same way. Bring us all your tax records. If you're in business, bring us all your business records, your inventory, and we're going to make you sign over as collateral all of that stuff. Well, I only need a $10,000 loan, and you want $1 million worth of collateral? They'll say yes, because it isn't about, just the money. It's about control. So financial privacy is absolutely critical. Am I going down the wrong trail here as an attorney for client protection? People should never give their tax return out. I guess if you're qualifying on a mortgage, that's just the way it is now. They're going to throw you out if you don't. But what are some other traps people can get in?
Well, the difference between private banking strategies and using carefully structured whole life insurance contract is that those contracts are private. They're not disclosed. to third parties, and the money that is put into these policies and taken out of the policies is not a reportable event by the IRS's own Internal Revenue Code 7702. We touched on that in the first part, but it bears repetition and driving home the point. The financial privacy is a key feature that life insurance companies possess. They're not required to report when you pay a premium, or they're not required to report when you take money out to go purchase whatever you're going to purchase, whether it be an investment, a home, an automobile, or for whatever purposes at all. There is no questioning about why you're taking the money out. And when you have that cycle of money in and out of your policies and your banking system, it's completely private. That, like you had mentioned in the last episode, they ask you two questions: where do you want your money sent, and how much? And it's really that simple. And that's why the politically elite and the ultra wealthy, folks like the Kennedys and the Rockefellers and J.C. Penney's and Ray Kroc, who made McDonald's, they all used these tools for the very same purposes that we're describing, the same reasons that we've outlined the 7 pillars for asset protection, tax-free growth, and financial privacy. So it's a fundamental feature and benefit of private banking strategies.
Many families carry on these traditions. They teach within the family their own success about money. Money is attracted to correct principles that are, I don't know, a cosmic law or whatever it is. You follow all the generic laws and rules about whatever you're doing, it attracts a positive result. With money, you follow all of those rules, money finds you, opportunity finds you. People who need money, people who have opportunities find you. I get notices at least once a year that some account that I have has had a security breach and all of my information got out. I hate that. And so I've even applied for loans with banks and not gone through with the loans and have asked, I want that paperwork back. And with banks, it is denied. We don't have to give it back to you. I thought they did. So since it's not their loan or anything else, why would they keep confidential information that isn't pertaining to them? Again, it's part of the system, and the control of banking.
And ultimately, I mean, the banks nowadays they're agents of the federal government. They act upon as an agent of the government. They call it know your customer, due diligence to fight terrorism. This isn't fighting terrorism. This is actual control over the American people in such a demonstrative power play that it just reeks of communism and socialistic tendencies, and take from the rich and give to the poor. And the government is requiring these banks to effectively do their dirty work.
Oh, yeah, they really are. So what can we do with privacy? These type of contracts with the insurance carriers give you a safe haven to store money without others knowing or finding out about it. Okay. We still have to use our banking system, to flow money in and out, but to store it, we can store it with insurance companies that do not come under the Dodd-Frank Act, that have a dispensation. A lot of people will argue with me because they don't want to be wrong when it comes to market rate of returns. But as a money manager for almost 40 years, these accounts, even though they're lower today than they were 20 years ago, have a guarantee that pretty much matches the market after taxes, only here it's private. And once it's in the system and you actually apply banking principles, we show people how to double money every couple of years on a regular basis, and that doubling is not taxable. There's no taxable events because of the privacy. They can't tell what's going on in your own private system.
And those are key fundamental differences between creating your own private family banking system versus using traditional wealth management. We've done some episodes in the past that kind of distinguish what traditional financial wealth management is versus private banking strategies and how they're worlds apart. I mean, sometimes you'll hear this. I've heard clients say, I can make so much more money in the markets. And they say, I can make 30% this year. The stock market's gone up, in equities, this amount. Well, That's actually not true year over year, at time over a long term 20, 30-year curve. It does not play out like that. You cannot make 30% a year in markets year over year. And we talk about this with like the tortoise and the hare illustration, and how the slow and steady actually wins over the long term. And these policies actually pick up the most speed at the end. And that's where your compounding curve goes parabolic in the latter years of the curve. And we talk about that in our book some, about the power of compounding interest. And those things are all incredibly important, and there's no risk involved with that situation. So we're kind of sidetracking onto other aspects of what private banking strategies does, but it all ties together.
Did that story feel like it was about you? Do you feel like you are generating a lot of revenue but are not moving forward as fast as you would like? Do you feel you should be making more progress toward your financial goals? Do you feel stuck? Let us help you get unstuck. Are you ready to take action and get your own private bank? Please visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
We're getting right into the velocity of money now, okay, which is the fourth pillar of the seven. And I want to talk about that because here's where we start losing people into what's called the herd mentality. Everybody handles money the way other people do, thinking that it's right. It's not, okay? Velocity of money is how money grows. It isn't from interest rates. We've been taught to chase interest rates, negotiate based on the interest rate. You want to pay as little as possible, okay? Or you want to make as much as possible. Well, when you're negotiating a loan and you're concerned about the interest rate, you're ignoring the problem, which is the volume of interest you're having to pay. It has nothing to do with the interest rate. People think on a mortgage, they pay, hey, I've got a 3% mortgage today. No, you don't. There's only 1 month out of 360 months that you'll ever pay down to 3%, and that's the last payment. You're going to start in the high 90%, and then you're going to refinance, and you're going to lose all that prepaid interest because the note says they can keep it. So the velocity of money is how many times they can put a dollar to work in 1 year. Folks, you've never experienced that if you're not doing the private banking strategy, and this is why people really get into it. You mean I can get money back and I can reuse it and get another dollar's worth? We absolutely say you can do that. We show people how to get back 100% of their monthly expenses every single month. And everybody goes, wow, and they envision it. But your vision of that is wrong. It isn't the way you're thinking today, because you're thinking the way the banks want you to think, not the way the banks play with money. This is called putting the banking equation back in your life. We don't have it. Therefore, we can't do this. We can't get the money back, and we're forced to spend our money. We put the banking equation back in. We change to using money like banks. The banks always get the money back, right, Seth?
Right.
Always get the money back. Well, then they can't give it away. They can't spend it because they have to get it back. There's a way of doing that, and it's this simple, folks. All you have to do is the same strategy the banks are doing to get the money back. We'll teach you how to set that up and do that. And so let's say if we're $10,000 on a debt and we have money in an account trying to earn us interest, thinking that it's working for us. A lot of people think that all of their assets, all of their investments are working for them. They are not. Only the people who have the money are making the lion's share of the money. You have to keep that money in that account in order to be credited any interest rate whatsoever. Mostly in CDs, it was very hideous. The banks required you to keep that CD all the way to the very end because they would not credit into that account the CD interest until you kept it full term. If you broke it, you lost all of that interest. Okay, so we set that up, and it's again, we put a dollar to work, we get it back with interest. We put a dollar to work again and get it back, and then we're adding the interest to it, and so this volume increases. How much more can I put out there to work that's bringing more dollars back in? And it's called velocity. How fast can I do it? And the volume, how much it's growing because I'm adding more debt or buying more debt or whatever it is. Velocity means how many touches, how fast during a year. And then volume is, again, the total amount out working for us versus money coming back in under our control. That control is critical. The banks, it's absolutely critical to them. All those payments coming in, think about this, guys, that in one day they get $1 million worth of payments in on all the loans they have. Okay. Well, that's again more money they can immediately lend out, and a percentage of that is theirs right off the bat. Then they get to factor. They get to factor again and lend out a whole lot more money. So it's absolutely corruption, and that's where we get our inflation from. Inside your own economy, think of this. Inside your town, you can have money bounce all around, from the grocery store to the dentist to the doctor, getting gas all over your little town, and never create a taxable event. Well, how fast can we get that dollar to move? That's what we're talking about here. Seth, I've done a lot of talking on that. Why don't you give us some of your comments?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that drives home, the velocity of money is it's about those cash flow payments. And we do an example, a pretty simple example of buying debt. Let's say that someone has a credit card that they're servicing with high interest rates, and you've got a volume of interest versus the interest payment example that I think would be good to illustrate for the audience to help them understand that cash flow is what we're focusing on, the volume of interest. And just to mention, you mentioned mortgage payments and mortgage when you purchase a home. On one of the documents, it's called the TILA, Truth in Lending Disclosure, a TILA disclosure, and they'll show you over 30 years, you're going to pay back, I bought $1 million home, and you're going to pay back $1.5 million in interest plus the $1 million that you borrowed, and that's supposed to be a 3% loan. How is 3% of 1 million $1.5 million? It makes no sense. That's what we're talking about. And that truth in lending disclosure tells the story. So folks, if you've got a mortgage and you bought a piece of real estate, look through your mortgage documents and pull out the truth in lending disclosure and look at the amount of interest you're going to pay over the term of that loan. But banks have brainwashed people into thinking that interest rate is what you should focus on. It's not. You should be focusing on the volume of interest that you're paying. And who do you want to be paying it to? The banks or yourself? You can pay to yourself in your own private banking system.
And Seth, the reason you just said that, people don't understand. We've been brought up thinking that if we pay cash for everything, it's the best way to get through life. It's not, because you're still financing. When you give up principal, you finance the rest of your life on that money. The money you could have earned putting it to work, getting a return from it. 5, 6, 7% over a lifetime, it's 20 times the cost of the item that we paid cash for. I will give an illustration, and maybe that'll drive home volume. This actually happened to me, and I did it on 2 vehicles. I was waiting for the strategy to work. I have 2 vehicles that I financed through Bank of America. I waited for the loan to get down to $10,000. Now, my strategy was to get back all the money I've ever spent on vehicles. And this is how I did it. When that got down to $10,000, I bought the loan, or my company, my little lending company, bought that debt. Me, I still have to make my payment. All I did was get notice that the payment changed someplace else. So from outflow to inflow. Now I'm paying that $500 a month to a different place, which happens to be what I own. So I'm now making back into my hopper that $500. I receive the money in order to make the payment. I make the payment. That's another touch. And now the place that it ends up has $500, and they get to use it to buy $500 worth of stuff. So what does that mean? The interest on that loan was 8.5%. I had to come up with $10,000 to buy the loan, and the payment was $500. I asked the question, why am I so excited in buying this debt? Everybody says it's the interest rate. And yeah, that's 8.5%. And if you're doing it for yourself, that's tax-free. So that's pretty good retain. It's much higher than the market. But even if it was zero, guys, it wouldn't dampen my enthusiasm. Here's why. I got $10,000 out there working for me now. I bought the debt. So I've got that's at work. but I'm receiving $500 a month. Over a year, that's $6,000. To find the volume rate of return, you take the $6,000 and divide it by the money at work. You come up with a 60% volume rate of return. And I ask you, is that high enough? You got $6,000 back in hand. What are you going to do with it? You're going to go put that to work and buy more debt, so that the second year you're going to get $6,000, plus you're going to get the money off of the first $6,000 that you got. That's volume of return, folks. It's this simple, and people love it.
A great illustration that drives home the point that you want to turn your expenses and the things that you're paying other banking and financing institutions into inflow and pay your own banking system and watch the parabolic growth year over year. So that's a little bit about the fourth pillar, the velocity of money. You can find more information about what we're talking about at privatebankingstrategies.com. It's privatebankingstrategies.com. And there on our website, you'll be given an offer where you can exchange your email for a book that Vance and I have written called What the Banks Don't Want You to Know. And the book will red pill you on certain topics like we're describing now that may just blow your mind. Most people haven't been introduced to a lot of the things that we're describing. And so we've got that offer for you. It's completely free to you. And if the book resonates with you and our podcast resonates with you, you're going to be receiving emails that will give you a link to schedule a call with Vance and ultimately come in to learn how this plan will work for you. We do an 8-year analysis that shows you step by step over an 8-year period how you can apply private banking strategies to your family's financial life and wealth management. That's basically our process, folks. And so we hope that you come and continue to educate yourself with the content we've built and schedule a call with Vance.
Yes, I'm so excited about discussing these issues and giving back. People need a chance to win. This is a chance, folks. This is why Seth and I are here, is because we are dedicated into helping people understand about money and turning that advantage to themselves instead of always giving it away to the banks.
All right, folks. We'll see you on the next podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Did that story feel like it was about you? Do you feel you should be making more progress toward your financial goals? Do you feel stuck? Let us help you get unstuck. Are you ready to take action and get your own private bank? Please visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
Thank you for listening to the Private Banking Strategies podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.